friends. So I'm cooking for myself tonight because I want to. And it's not very complicated, just very good ingredients again. What I did here was, let's see if I can show you the package. I gotta switch this around somehow. I know you want to see me because I'm so good looking. Okay, I started with wild caught North Atlantic sea scallops, product of USA, otherwise I won't eat them. No other ingredients. Scallops, USA. Now, the interesting thing here is that I didn't defrost them completely. I put them in the refrigerator this morning. Is anyone home? I hope you're there because this is going to be a nice meal. The rice is almost done. This is only going to be a 10-minute video. I've opened my Trimbach Riesling. Cold out here in Northern California this time of year, which I love. I love the cold. I don't really like going anywhere. I mean, truthfully, you know, it's a Zen thing, as they say. When you have what you want, what's the point of, oh, sorry, the camera wasn't on the scallops. I cut my finger a minute ago with this stiletto. I was shaving my garlic, and I shaved my finger, so I'm going to have another drink. I began the night with some very nice, again, I got to turn it around, 18-year-old, let live it. I have to turn it the other way. Bottle's been with me for years. I'm not a big Scotch drinker. Gets cold, I like it. On a cheaper level, the Glenfiddich 15 single malt is actually quite good. And probably 1/5 the price. So these are organic mushrooms, lots of chopped garlic, separated over there. You can see the scallops are starting to turn the way I like them, brown. It's a combination of sauteing and steaming in the same pan, by the way. I have to use the tongs to turn them. They're tricky little guys. I love scallops, but they have to be cooked, don't they? Just exactly the way. See, they have to be slightly brown. I don't ruin them with butter. What is the point of putting butter all over everything? I mean, butter, first of all, is saturated fat. I don't use it. Too much science against saturated fats and coronary artery disease. Don't argue with me, please. You know, tell me about your uncle who lived to 98 who ate it. That's fine. He's called a nutritional rogue. Most of us aren't nutritional rogues. You're going to have a cardiovascular event probably by the time you're 50 or 60 if you keep eating that shit. And the salt, and the butter, and the sugar. Sugar's the greatest killer in America, in the Western world. It's the sugar disease more than the fat disease. Take it from me. I've been studying this since I'm a very young guy in college. And the science is in. You want to watch KQED PBS cooking shows and die by the time you're 30? I never saw anything like it in my life. I commented on it today. Every dish is saturated with fat, sugar, salt. And these are people who should know better. And then on the other networks, all you see are ads for most expensive drugs in the world, for the very diseases that are caused by the bad foods. Food is medicine. Chinese have known that for centuries. Food is medicine. So if you want to keep eating badly and then wonder why you get sick by the time you're 40 or younger, don't say you haven't been warned by all the great scientists over the last 50, 60 years, but you want to throw it out the window by watching the propaganda, go ahead. Now, these are almost done. I have a choice before me with my dish. Do I want to put my rice in here and fry the rice with the scallops, the organic mushrooms, the tomatoes, and the garlic? Or do I want to separate it and do the, I don't know, the Horn and Hardart style, which is put it over rice, which is kind of bland? First thing I'm going to do is taste one of these, because see how done it is? See that? That's done. Took me a long time to do it right. I'll tell you about the trick of defrosting scallops or shrimp from frozen in a frying pan. Very delicious. Oh, they're good. I did put a little low sodium. What did I use? Chicken broth. Low sodium chicken broth. And I could put a little bit more in. If I'm going to add the rice, I'm going to want to make a sauce. Boy, that is delicious. I did put a hot jalapeno pepper in this thing. I forgot. Especially in the winter. I love jalapenos. Oh, that's nice. See, you don't want to burn them, obviously, but you want them crispy. Scallops are very delicious, but they have to be cooked exactly right. Overcooked, impossible to eat. Undercooked, disgusting, like eating rubber. Or you could go to a restaurant and get cheap scallops coated with butter and salt, and you wouldn't know the difference. But right now, these are done. They're perfect. I'm going to put my rice in here, make a fried rice out of it. That's how my rice is doing. Cooking. Well, I like this old cooker better than the new one. I got this new one. I don't like it. It takes too long. This old El Cheapo. See, the rice is moist. It says it's not done, but it is. So we are going to walk it across the floor here. I love my kitchen. I love all my things in it. There we go. I mean, I have one hand to do this with. Okay, that nice sound, right? So I'm going to bring the mountain to Muhammad instead of the Muhammad to the mountain. And we'll bring Muhammad the rice over to the mountain of the pot. Not meaning to insult anybody. It's a phrase. Don't take everything literally, you idiots. I'll just get all that rice in there. And I may add some more of the chicken broth to it. Or I may not. I mean, I like foods on the dry side, not saturated with too much moisture. I learned it from a professor friend of mine 50 years ago who had lived in Thailand. He's a world-famous parasitologist. Great man, wrote great books. I loved him. He died like everyone else, way of all flesh. But he taught me that the trick to great cuisine, having lived in Malaysia in the 50s and 60s in Africa, he knew so many things Bob did, was cooking to dryness. It's not done often in American cuisine. American cuisine is usually gooey and fatty. So now, you see I've kept the rice separated from the scallops. Why? I could mix them together and make a complete mess of it all, but I'm keeping it separated with the mushrooms in it, not the scallops, because the scallops are such a fabulous dish unto themselves that they deserve a separation. Decided they need segregation and a separate graduation. Yeah, they're going to have a separate graduation. So we have now the mushrooms. These are beautiful. I'm going to show you the mushrooms I'm using. Shiitake are too obvious, too hippie. Every hippie knows about shiitake mushrooms, so I don't use them. I like to dance on two, not on one. So I use maitake frondosa. They're different. Fantastic thing, mushrooms. Of course, they can kill you, but so can everything else. These are commercial. They're not picked wild. So this dish is done. Now, I could change it with sauce. I could put butter sauce on it, which I won't do, etc. But my dish is done. I'm going to just have a drink to you, and I'm going to sign off. I don't know what to call this dish other than cover it, close it, and drink to you. Notice I didn't do politics tonight. Nobody can take the politics anymore. Everybody I know is so agitated from the tyrant running the country. There he goes again. Yeah, oh yeah, he's a tyrant. You know that Joe Biden is by every definition a tyrant going back to Plato. Let me read you something that I tweeted today. I'm going to read you some tweets. I was very busy tweeting today, incidentally. And my tweets are getting better and better as I get closer to not doing them anymore. Here we go. Here's a nice one. Here's a beautiful one. I showed the U.S. Constitution with old George and Benny, and I asked, would Biden have them arrested and tried for insurrection? Oh, you betcha. Him and Obama, the tyrants? Sure, they'd arrest Washington and Franklin for insurrection. Not even tried, just found guilty. And then above it is my latest podcast, I Remember Mama, God bless her. Special podcast. You can enjoy it this weekend for Christmas. And above that was what? Where are we? Below that, NPR has cooking shows which feature high sugar, high salt, high saturated fat recipes. Then all networks run ads from Big Pharma to treat the disorders induced by these destructive cooking shows. And here's another one, an original. When truth becomes the enemy within that deracinates the culture, big word, erases the borders, bastardizes the language. Welcome to Biden's world. That was a good one. This is probably the best of the day. In Plato's Republic, Socrates says that the tyrant prefers foreigners over its own citizens. That's Joe Biden. He's a tyrant. He's by every definition, going back to Greek times, a tyrant. When I was in a nicer mood, I write from Hillel, if I am not for myself, who will be for me? If I'm only for myself, what am I? And not now, and if not now, when? That's a great one. Now, this is something interesting. Yesterday was a big news. Really, it kicked Jack Smith in the ass. Trump had a huge victory, and it was buried by the vermin in the media. So watch what I did on the tweet. SCOTUS was unanimous in rejecting Jack Smith's request against Trump. Did any of the media vermin report this? No, they didn't. Some people said, yes, it's all over the news because they don't read. I said SCOTUS was unanimous. There was no dissent in rejecting the tyrant Jack Smith's request against Trump. Did you know that? Biden's border bust out equals the Mario boat invasion on steroids. They're bringing in the lowest and the worst I've ever seen in my life. They're illiterate in Spanish. They're infected with diseases. Most of them are on welfare, and we're putting up with it. In Canada, the Trudeau dictator invited Palestinians from Gaza into Canada. How is that going to work out? What is today, the 23rd? On the 21st, I said, did the people of the Nordic countries vote to permit the Muslim invasion? Did the citizens of the USA ask for this barbarian invasion? Democracy now a sham under the Biden EU NATO thugs. It ends how? I should read a savage republic. Well, here's a nice one. If a foreign enemy invaded a nation, eliminated its borders, flooded in millions of military-age men, deracinated the native language and culture, turned citizens against each other, sent billions of dollars to foreign nations, made housing and food unaffordable, etc., and so on. My last podcast before that was Stopping the Coming Civil War from August 8th, 2019, a radio show. And I watch a lot of movies on these cold nights. And I turned on the trailer to De Niro and DiCaprio's horrible movie, Killers of the Flower Moon. It's unbelievable how anyone could put out this trash. And I said 5 stiffs to not rent this trash by the hypocrites Scorsese, De Niro, and DiCaprio. Killers of the Flower Moon, a saccharine, slow-moving mess of left-wing baby talk. All I did was watch the 10-minute free piece, the free trailer. I couldn't believe how bad DiCaprio's fake accent was. He didn't even study to get an old Western accent. He just thought he could fake it through the movie. I said his accent is so off-putting, even Joe Biden would see through it. And there earlier was the Black Hitler dumps Malibu house at great loss, this pile of human turd. When Trump had him in the White House, I went nuts. I said having him and the Kardashian in the White House is the greatest mistake you have ever made. I was never, ever loved again by the inner circle at Trump land. Never. These are two of the lowest forms of humanity. And somebody told Trump to have these two pieces of shit in the White House. And the black Hitler at the time threw his feet up on the sacred desk in the Oval Office. I said, that's the last straw for me. That this human piece of turd, this street thug, would not be kicked out on his ass by the Secret Service is beyond me. But then again, we live in strange times. Of course, I talk too much, so my scallops are burned a little bit. No, they're perfect. Now, normally, I would destroy it by pouring red sauce on it. But I'm not doing that anymore. I'm ready to eat. Keep warm. Pull the plug. I'm going to watch a movie tonight. There's not much on. I'm watching Scandinavian movies because there's almost no gay and lesbian or content of people of color who are put in the movie just because the Obamas run Netflix. I mean, don't get me wrong. I've slept in villages with all black people, but they live there. I don't like them. I don't like people put into movies just because they're supposed like. It's like the president of Harvard. I was the first in the media to say she has a very skimpy academic record. She only had 5 or 8 papers, and they're all stolen. Okay. I will close by quoting the great dictator, Abraham Lincoln. You ready for it? My immigrant father was not an educated man in a formal sense, but he was well-read in the popular sense. And he took the hand of the young savage on the streets of the Bronx in Manhattan, and he would say to me different things. And one of the things he said was, Michael, remember as you get older, you can fool some of the people some of the time. You can fool some of the people all of the time. But you can't fool all of the people all of the time. I said, Dad, who wrote that? He said, Abraham Lincoln said it. He said, as you get older, you'll see what I mean. Joe Biden thinks he can fool all of the people all of the time.